Hey guys, today we'll be talking about Hungary and the various currency crises the economy has faced over the last century. Hungary is a country with a population of 10 million people, with a scenery which is more pretty and gentle than striking. We will analyze how a country which invented the Rubik's Cube ended up with its economy all jumbled up. To shed light on this topic, we will be actually speaking about the two currency crises which Hungary has already faced and analyze whether the third one is on its way. But that's for the later part. Now we are basically going to be speaking about the history of the various currencies in Hungary, the fiscal policies, the effect which the GFC had on its current currency, and where the current currency is heading and whether it will be there or not.
Hi there, as we saw the history of Hungary, now we'll concentrate on its currency. Hungary's first currency was koruna. Koruna was introduced after collapse of Austro-Hungarian Empire, but it was really very soon when Hungary lost its popularity as the Treaty of Trine and the political instability exposed koruna to the inflation, which grew monthly up to 97%. To get rid of this inflation, government introduced new currency, the pengo. The pengo was valued at 12,500 koruna per pengo. Pengo was the most successful currency as it survived World War I and the Great Depression. Pengo was the most powerful currency until Hungary became the battleground for the Nazis and the Russians. Because of this war, they destroyed the industrial capacity of Hungary, which resulted in vast destruction. And the result of this war was that the prices of goods and services increased enormously. And to get rid of this problem, government started printing of more and more money. Literally, money was flooded from the printing machines in the economy. So, how much money should have been printed by the government in July 1946? The number is enormous. It is 47 septillion, that is trillion pengos. What do you guys think would be the pengo's price per US dollar? It's 460 septillion, that is 460 trillion pengos. It's messy, yeah? So moreover, hyperinflation affected Hungary at its worst because during 1944, something which cost 370 pengo was charged around 1 trillion pengos in 1946. Yes, it's enormous. Government took many measures to get rid of this hyperinflation. One of those were they imposed 75% capital levy. Due to hyperinflation, government faced many problems because there were increasing zeros in the currency. So they introduced higher denomination currency. Those are mil pengo, bil pengo, which stands for million pengo, billion pengo. Moreover, to collect tax easily, they also introduced inflation index banknotes, which is known as Edo Pengo. But still, there was no control in inflation. So to get rid of this hyperinflation, they again scrapped Pengo and introduced new currency, which is forint.
Hey guys, now we're gonna talk about the foreign currency. As earlier, Vicky and Harsh gave you brief information about the previous currency and introduction about the currency crisis. Now we're going to talk why forint was introduced. It was introduced in the year 1946 as part of the stabilization of the economy post-World War II. A completely new designed series of banknotes were in the denominations of 200, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 and 20,000 between the year 1987 and 2001. Hungarian economy was the exchange rate of the money was stable until the country adopted a market economy in the early 1990s. Since 2001, inflation is a single digit and the forint was declared fully convertible. And the forint remained stable for several years but starting to losing its purchasing power as the state's socialist economic system lost its competitiveness during the year 1970 and 1980s. The democratic change in 1990 was the forint saw nearly inflation figures of approx 35% for the next 3 years. But significant market economic reforms helped to stabilize it, but it became more manageable in the year 2000. Since the year 2000, the relatively high value of forint handicapped the strongly export-oriented Hungarian industry against the foreign competitors with lower valued currencies. At one point, the inflation was so high that the currency lost its ability to be converted, and it was an essential aspect of international e-commerce. Now we talk about the fiscal policy, starting with implication of the economy. The Hungarian government had been under the excess of deficit procedure of the European Commission ever since it joined the European Union in the year 2004. Between the year 2002 and 2010, the general government deficit had been close to 5% of the country's GDP, and its fiscal policy was characterized by a strong election cycle, which says that election cycle, like a political agenda, can affect a country's economy to the least. Financial crisis in the year 2010 election was clearly shown. All these developments clearly lead that Hungarian fiscal institutions were weak, and to strengthen the framework, they had set up an independent fiscal council in the year 2008 with its own staff to provide forecast and monitor detailed fiscal expenditure in a transparent way. However, this council was a critical government in the 2011 budget proposal. It was replaced by a three-member panel whose remit was meant to express their broad opinion about the budget bill. Without independent forecast, analysis of the fiscal policy, fiscal transparency, it was unlikely that new institution arrangements will eliminate the election cycle and bring stability in the economic of the Hungarian government.
This is Euro, and these are the countries most affected by the GFC. This is a graph which represents a country's spending and borrowing post the GFC period till 2014. The global financial crisis had adversely affected the European Union, especially the newest member, Hungary. Every financial crisis has been caused in different regions because of varied reasons. A country's financial and economic environment actually is what leads an outline to the steps which can possibly be taken by the economy to overcome a certain crisis. In the case for Hungary, it was also the policies of the past which actually led to the downfall post the GFC period. All events leading up to the global financial crisis, there are two factors which I think are held most responsible for the downfall in the value of the forint. First, abandonment of the fixed exchange rate regime in 2009 in Feb. Second, and the most important, is the high amount of the foreign denominated loans, especially in Swiss francs, taken by Hungary. These foreign denominated loans actually made up 125% of Hungary's GDP value. And then once these loans started to default by the Hungarian investors, foreign investors also started defaulting their loans within Hungary. All of this basically led to a domino effect, and the GDP fell in 2009 by 6.5%. Since then, this is what forint's value has been as compared to the US dollars. Thank you.
Points present. In the last few months, there was a period when forint strengthened, and it was hoped it would return to its valuation prior to last summer's collapse. There are too many variables preventing the Hungarian currency strengthening. Despite it being a floating currency, the forint's value does not change much. The dollar's value often rises and falls 10% compared to euro or yen within a year or few months. While the Hungarian currency does not usually move beyond its narrow range of 5%. However, last year's collapse saw the forint outside of its bracket, and its few reasons are poor wages, foreign debt, high inflation, and public trust. Forint's future, will they be keeping it or scraping it? Hungary originally planned to adopt the euro as its official currency in 2008 or 2007. But what happened? On 1st January 2010, it became the target date, but that date was abandoned because of an excessively high budget deficit, inflation, and public debt. For years, Hungary could not meet any of the misjudged criteria after the 2006 election. Prime Minister Ferenc introduced austerity measures, causing protests in late 2006 and an economic slowdown in 2007 and 2008. However, in 2007, the deficit has become reduced to less than 5% from 9.2% and approached a 3% threshold in 2008. In 2008, analysts claimed that Hungary could join ERM2 in 2010 or 2011 and so might adopt the euro in 2013. But more feasibly in 2014 or later, depending on Eurozone crisis developments. On 8 July 2008, then the Finance Minister Janos announced the first draft of a euro adoption plan.
Will Hungary ever adopt the euro?
About that, in February 2011, Prime Minister Viktor made it clear that he does not expect the euro to be adopted by Hungary before 2020. Later, Motulski also confirmed the statement. Thank you.